Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is my July wrap-up, which means we're going to talk about the books I read in July. And this will be spoiler-free, and I'll give you the ratings that I gave for each of these books. You can follow all of that on my Goodreads if you want. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below for me. That way you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all I talk about on this channel is books. So that's what you're into, give me a follow. So let's not waste any time, let's get into it. The first book I'm going to talk about today is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I'm 100% sure I didn't say that right, but let's not dwell on it. I had a lot of really high hopes for this book. Like, people have been talking about it, the reviews are all really good. It's supposed to have like this kind of dark humor about it, and it did. Like, the first couple chapters, really like nice dark humor, like funny, witty. I was really into it, and then it just kind of stopped being funny. It just kind of stopped being everything. So the premise of this book is that Corey, the oldest daughter, helps her sister Ayula clean up her boyfriend's dead bodies because Ayula kind of has like a tendency to kill them. And we open up on Corey helping her dispose of boyfriend number 3. And at this point, Corey's starting to get like a little concerned, like obviously there's something going on. It can't all be self-defense. Like, this is the 3rd boyfriend in a row that she's murdered. Like, surely we should do something about this. And yeah. As the book progresses, we find out that Corey has like a really big crush on a doctor that she works with at the hospital. And then Ayula starts dating this doctor. And so Corey makes it her mission to keep this guy alive because she really likes him, and she doesn't want her sister to murder him since she has like murdering tendencies. So much promise to this book. Really, there was. I was really excited about it, and after I started reading it, I was, the dark humor was there. It had a really good setup, and then it just fell completely flat for me. I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I honestly thought I was being very generous because the book just had like no pacing. We didn't ever really get into any of Ayula and Corey's familial issues, and there was a lot of talk about family issues, but we never really got into what they were. We just knew that they were there. We knew that there was some dark secret, but Braithwaite never gave it to us. Like, she never expanded on the idea, and it was always like really frustrating because I was like, are we really not going to get the story? We really didn't get the story. And I was really disappointed in the ending. Yeah, I had like a lot of high hopes for this book, and it fell really flat for me. I finished it in one day, which like I don't do. Normally, because I just have too much other stuff going on, I can't finish books in one day. But I knew if I put this book down, I probably wouldn't be able to pick it back up. Like, I wouldn't be motivated to keep reading it. And so I just read it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, that's My Sister the Serial Killer. Next. The next book I read was Sharp Teeth by Toby Barlow. Okay, if you watched the Maybe series, I talked a little bit about this book because I didn't really know what it was going to be about. I just kind of knew that the writing style was supposed to be really cool, and the writing style was very different. So let's get into the premise of this book. It's about Anthony, who is a dog catcher that falls in love with a female lycanthrope or werewolf. And basically there's these packs of werewolves that live in LA that are all vying for the top dog position. So we have all these packs of werewolves that are trying to run the city. So think of it like mob bosses, but with dogs. Yeah. It honestly was a really cool story. Like, the writing style of this book, like, it was written in paragraphs. I want to say it was written in prose, but I'm not 100% sure that it actually was. But it was written in paragraph form, very short stanzas, Like, we're talking like 5-6 stanzas per page. And basically, there was the potential for each stanza to be someone else's point of view. There's a very big cast for this book. Lots of people, lots of moving pieces. Like, you really had to get settled in the writing style before you could really figure out what was going on. I had trouble getting settled in the writing style, but because I was so like into the story, it wasn't that bad. It did take a minute to settle into it, but the story was really good. There's not a lot of description. Okay, so if you're one of those people that needs like a lot of scene setting, this was not it. Don't really get a good look at anybody. Don't really get a good setting, feel. Time is irrelevant, that kind of a thing. Like, we're really just jumping from person to person and putting all the moving pieces together. But it was a really cool book. And there was just this like sweet, tender, but impossible love story in there. And then the ending. Like, the last 3 lines of the book. Man, this is a book I'll never forget. Like, this is going on one of the most interesting lists because this was definitely a cool thing to experience. Like, so if you're wanting something like different but interesting, this. Pretty sure I gave it 5 stars. Because, like, how can I not? The next book I'm going to talk about is The Shadow House by Anna Downs. This was the book from my book club. And right away, this book gave me all the vibes. Like, it set up to be a really, really cool book. So the premise of this book is that a single mom with 2 kids runs away from her life and ends up settling on this like kind of rural community commune type place. It's very community-based living. So like, they grow all their own food and they barter, and eventually like you buy a piece of land with like other people and then build your houses together. Also, this book is set in Australia. Yes, pretty sure. Because like, I don't think that stuff like this in the US really like exists, but this is like, to me, this is a super cool idea. Like, I would be into doing something like that. Like, it's like cult-ish, but not a cult. I don't know if you guys know that about me. Cults are very appealing to me, so. Anyway, let's not. Back to the premise of the book. So she starts living there with her 2 kids. It's a very big adjustment. And all this time we're getting hints of like why she left her old life and like how she's fitting in with people. And like, at first everything's fine, but then she starts not fitting in with people. Like, lots of rumors and stuff are happening. Her kid is kind of like pulling away from her. And then all these weird things start happening. And there's lots of like rumors around the town of like the house up on the hill being haunted and all this other stuff. So there was a lot going on in the book. So as I was moving through the book, I was like trying to figure out what the genre was. Like, is this a psychological thriller? Is this a like murder mystery type book? Is it like a paranormal book? Yes. Across the board, yes, it's all of those things. Like, and I really, really liked that because I couldn't really figure out where the book was going, but I knew I was excited. And the pace was really great because we were jumping between 2 different time periods, like what happened in the house up on the hill, and then what's happening to Alex, our main character, at the time. So the pace really, really worked for me. The storyline was really great, and I just really liked this book. I gave it 4 stars, and the reason I didn't give it 5 is because there was a lot of trauma that was hinted at in Alex's past, but we never got into. Like, there was a lot of flashback moments and a lot of moments when I thought, okay, we're finally going to get to know. We're going to get to know what happened to her. And we just never got into it. And I was really disappointed in that. Like, I really wanted to know what happened to Alex to make her the way that she is. Because that's a really big part of the book, is that she's very flighty and she runs away from her problems a lot, and she kind of moves and lives this nomadic lifestyle because she can't stay present. And they hinted at a lot of trauma being there to reason that why she was the way she was, but we never really got into it, and I was a little disappointed because I did kind of want to know her story. But other than that, this book really delivered for me. I didn't see it coming. All the twists, you could not have prepared me. I didn't see any of it coming. So yeah, I really liked this one. The last book I'm going to talk about is Unraveling Oliver by Liz Nugent. This was like a last minute decision, and basically the reason I picked it was because it was short. And because I was like really in a mood to read, and it was on my maybes list, and it was the shortest book on my maybes list that I could get immediately. So I was like, yeah, I'll read it because it sounded really interesting. The book was really interesting because we open up with Oliver telling us that he's basically beaten his wife to the point where she's completely unconscious and might not ever wake up. That's how the story opens. And he's sitting here like trying to explain it, but he can't explain it because he says like, I've never done anything like this, and I don't think I ever would do anything like this. So the rest of the book from that point is like interviews with everyone that has known Oliver or knows Oliver now and knows his wife Alice, who is, you know, the one that was beaten really badly. And so I was kind of having a hard time understanding how the book was going to get laid out. And someone wrote a review for this book and said that this is not a psychological thriller, it's a psychological character study. Yes. I could not agree more. That is exactly what it felt like. Like, it felt like we were interviewing all of the friends and family and piecing together Oliver's story. Now, Oliver does tell parts of his own story, and so we do get, you know, his truth or whatever. But this whole time we're trying to piece together everything through the eyes of everybody else and occasionally through the eyes of Oliver to get to where we are in the end of the book. And if you have an interest in like serial killers, people with psychological disorders, this was extremely interesting from that point of view, because by the end of the book, I was just completely blown away. It was just like, I don't think anybody really knew him. And there were parts where I'm like, I don't even think Oliver knew what was true and what wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, that people get to the point where they're lying so much that they don't really remember what's real and what's not real. Like, there were moments in the book, really great moments. Now that I've like fluffed it up quite a bit and made it look really nice, it was a good book. I really enjoyed the way that it was written. I really enjoyed the mental aspect of this book. I gave it 3 stars, and I'll tell you why. This book was published in like 2014, okay? Modern times, as we would say. This book was set in Ireland and partially in France in like the 1970s. A very big theme of this book was racism and homophobia, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with like understanding how bad things were at that time in other countries, especially because, you know, I live in the US and this is what I know. We don't learn a lot about other countries and how they dealt with these types of issues as well. So I could get on board with it. The way that it was written was very weird to me, because everyone in the book, all the characters, made sure to say like, oh, other people are racist, but not me. Never me. I don't have a problem with people of color. Not me, but you know, everybody else does. And it was weird to hear that from literally every character. Literally every character had something to say along those lines of, well, I could see how it would be difficult, you know, because of how other people are, but not me. It was just an odd thing to read. It was a weird way to put it. And it went both ways. It went both ways with the racism and the homophobia. Like, every character was sure to say that other people were these things, but not me. And that was really weird, because the cast of this book was very big. I mean, at least 10 people. It's weird for 10 people to all say the same thing in that weird way. Because usually when people are like, I'm not racist, and then they say stuff, it really makes you question whether they are or they aren't. You know what I mean? Talking to myself here. There was also a mentally handicapped character in the book. Alice's brother was mentally handicapped. In the time period in the 70s, I will admit they probably did not have a very accurate diagnosis for him besides, you know, retardation or something like that. They did not get into his diagnosis. They did not talk about him a lot. But they also made it a point for a few of the other characters to say, lots of people don't like mentally disabled people, but I'm not one of them. It was, again, just like this really weird vibe from that. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out, why would she make it a point to put people of color in the book, but not? They're mentioned in the book, but they're not really in the book. Gay characters and a mentally challenged person, but make it written in such a way that it felt racist, homophobic, and ableist, but it wasn't? I don't understand the point of putting it in there when it really didn't add anything to the story except for being weird. It was just a weird way to address each of these issues, and it was like, the only thing I can really think is that maybe Liz Nugent has some personal connection to all of these things, which I cannot speculate on at all, and I won't. So maybe this was extremely personal for her and she felt like she needed to add it in there. But on the other hand, maybe she was trying to be inclusive and went overboard with it? I don't know. That's why I gave it 3 stars, because it really rubbed me the wrong way. And it was because it was mentioned over and over and over again on so many occasions by so many of the characters that it rubbed me wrong. That was disappointing, because the book was actually really, really good, except for those moments. And there were a lot of those moments, and I couldn't really figure out what we were doing there. And I was super disappointed in the ending. Again, because the race issues kept coming up and coming up and coming up, and it was like, the book was very hard to read. So yeah, I liked it, but I didn't. Yeah. Sorry to end it on a bit of a downer. If anybody else has read that book, Unraveling Oliver, I would really love to hear your opinion on it, because maybe I am not getting it. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just not getting it, what the point of it was. But so yeah, if you've read that book, please drop me a comment. Let's talk about it. I need to know. I need to know what other people thought about this book. Because I've read the comments, like the reviews and stuff, and the reviews are all pretty good. No one else is mentioning this issue, so maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just sensitive to things like that. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Sorry to end it on a little bit of a downer, but I did read a couple of really good books this month. I was really happy with my lineup. I've already started digging into my August reads. I'm really excited, and I know school is starting up soon for us, so like I'm trying to get a lot of reading done now before we start doing all the school crap, because I'm gonna be really tired getting my kids adjusted to school again. They're really not into it already. They're like, do we really have to go back? I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry, but yes, you have to go back. So I'm trying to get a lot of reading knocked out at the beginning. If you don't know, my girl Ella Stone dropped a new book last month. I'm already into it. It's really funny. It's really like quirky, I guess you could say. It's definitely interesting. If you like vampire books, like teenage vampire books, go check it out. She's got it up on Kindle Unlimited. You can get it through Amazon, all of the things, all the places we all buy books. It's available. I am going to put together a giveaway for this book on my Instagram. I'm talking about it with Stone this week, so tune in for that over on my Instagram. I've got all my links up in my bio so you can find me. But yeah, let's wrap this up. Don't want to keep you guys too long. Make sure you hit all the buttons down below for me. Check back next week with new videos. Check out my old videos, comment, whatever, do all the things. I'll see you guys next time.